Shabbat Shalom. As our Bano Mitzvah pointed out, and as you know, anyone who was reading along with these Parshiot Tazria Metzora, with their sort of obsessive details about skin afflictions and rashes and molds and things, these Parshiot are not always the ones that our Bnei Mitzvah are super excited to get. They're sort of the, forgive me, the colonoscopies of the Torah. It's really, really important, but not something anyone really wants to talk about. But I had an experience this week, not the thing, that made me feel I actually understand a little bit about something that's going on here. Now, earlier this week, I had lunch with Bishop Hayward Smith from Mount Harmon Church. I know we've had stuff that we've done with them in the past, and we spoke about things that we can do together. And we sat outside and we were having our coffee, and a couple of congregants walked by and I said hello. And then a few people walked by and he said hello to them. And we sort of almost got into a little clergy competition of who could be kinder and more friendly to people as they walked by. And let me tell you, I couldn't hold a candle to this man's gregariousness and kindness. And at a certain point, I said, I'm really impressed that so many of your parishioners are walking by here. And he said, oh, I don't know who these people are. But I watched him just talk to people and say, how is your food? How's it going? He saw an older woman and a younger woman together, and he said, what's going on? Are you taking your daughter out to lunch? And she said, no, it's my granddaughter. And said, oh, why? And oh, I just graduated from Stanford and she's going to work at Google. And wow, that's amazing. And where did your mother go to college? Oh, my mother didn't go to college. Wow, look at this. He created a whole sermon right there on the street just from accosting these people. My Midwestern sensibilities were cringing the entire time. Oh my God, leave them alone. What's going on? But I was so impressed at his ability to just cut to the heart of someone and talk to them and be there. And that thing, whatever that is, the ability to reach out, to talk to someone, to see someone, actually shows up in a beautiful way in our Parsha. Because the whole Parsha is about skin disease. And what you do with the skin disease, when you have whatever the psoriasis or whatever it is, you go to the priest, and the Torah tells us that the priest looks at it, Ve'eruhu HaKohen, and then does certain things. And all of our commentaries on this line, the priest looks at it, say what it seems like the plain meaning is. The priest is like a sort of, as you guys said, a faux doctor checking out whatever's going on. But one commentary known as the Meshech Chochmah, Rav Meir of Dvinsk, he reads it differently, but the grammar works. He says, Ve'eruhu Kohen does not mean sees the negah, sees the affliction. Ve'eruhu Kohen means sees the person. And that the priest's job, says the Meshech Chochmah, is to look beyond the affliction and see the whole person, who they are, and help them in that way. Echoing words of Sir William Osler, one of the founders of Hopkins Medical School, an early doctor who wrote, the good physician treats the disease. The great physician treats the patient who has the disease. And both of these men, the Meshech Chochmah and Dr. Osler, are trying to get us to do something that is difficult but fundamentally important. To look at someone and not see the first thing that we see, or not see only the affliction perhaps that they have, but to see the entire person. And I can think of no message more important to us today than this idea of looking beyond the things that we see to see people as whole human beings. Whether they are someone that we disagree with politically, and we want to see only that disagreement, they are whole human beings. And they have reasons for what they think, and I have reasons for what I think, and we need to approach one another as whole humans. Socially, again, Avery, you spoke beautifully about the gossip prohibition in the Parsha as well. If we see people as whole human beings, not just their Instagram feeds or not just the way that they've affected us in this one moment, but as a whole person, then we're able to find the compassion that we need. Let alone if someone pulls into the wrong driveway or gets in the wrong car. We should see people as whole human beings. Look beyond what's on the outside to see a human underneath. We just went through Yom HaShoah. This past week, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And there's a book that came out a couple of years ago called People Love Dead Jews, in which Dara Horn writes about the ways in which we teach the Shoah. And she has a problem with talking about it too much in the abstract. Because her point that she writes about is that too much of Holocaust literature treats the evil or the hate as this thing with a capital H or a capital E, that there's just evil out there. And it was coming for the Jews in this moment. And she writes, because it's not that there's just evil out there. There are people who made evil decisions. It's not just that there is hate and there will always be hate in some amorphous way. There are human beings who choose to hate or choose not to hate. To see people as whole humans isn't to let them off the hook. It's to see people in all of their complexities and know that they make decisions for themselves based on all of the pressures and ideas and everything that's gone into them. And if we're going to work with someone, if we're going to have empathy for someone, we need to know everything that is who they are. Because everyone is a person, no matter what we think, no matter what they've done. And we need to be able to see that. And one of the things that I was struck with as I read through the Meshech Chochmah, or I learned about William Osler, is actually just how hard this can be. And both of these thinkers went against the prevalent wisdom of their day. The Meshech Chochmah went against everything that the other commentaries were saying to say, no, this isn't about God punishing people. This is about people. And we need to see the people who are there. And William, I'm looking at the doctors. I have no idea if this is right or not. But what I read was William Osler also changed a little bit about the way that we treat patients and the way that we approach medicine to make it a more human-centered thing. And he actually was brought into London to teach. And what I found out as I was researching is that the Meshech Chochmah and William Osler lived at the exact same time. They're born within 2 years of each other and they die within 7 years of each other. And William Osler writes about his travels all over Europe. And we don't know where the Meshech Chochmah went or if he left Dvinsk or not. But I like to imagine that there was a cafe somewhere in Lithuania. And Osler was on his tours teaching about medicine and speaking. And he sat next to a kind of awkward, slumpy looking rabbi. And he's this fancy doctor and professor. And I like to think that maybe they turned to each other, and he said, oh, pass the salt, or why does all the food taste really dry here? Oh, you sat down at a kosher restaurant, you didn't understand that. And they had a conversation. And the two of them saw each other as humans. And they looked beyond the many, many differences that I'm sure that they had. And they got to know each other a little bit. And they left with this idea, both of them, that we should see each other as humans. And they went back to their spheres of influence, and they wrote their commentary, and they wrote their treaties. And they say we should see each other as humans. And Osler, by the way, is known as being a little bit less anti-Semitic than everyone else around him in those days. Maybe because of his lunch with Rebbe Meir of Dvinsk. Because these ideas can come from anywhere. And if we are able to see each other as humans, no matter who we are, no matter how we disagree, no matter what afflictions we have, then we're able to bring great wisdom and knowledge and Torah into the world. It's hard to do. Sometimes it means we go against the grain, but it's incredibly important. And it's what the Torah and God in this moment need us to do. Shabbat Shalom.